Bryce, I talked about how yesterday in Washington peace was breaking out. I'll tell you what, in the NFL, it looks like some old men are starting to wake up old rich men who own football teams are starting to wake up to the problem that they have in their midst, and that is of a lot of players abusing women, and in this case, children. I think I'm starting to detect a turning of the tide. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, though, I think it took a video of Ray Rice. I think it took children being introduced to this, and then ultimately I think it took some big sponsors turning the screws on the NFL and some of the owners to bring all this to light. It's really disturbing, first of all, when you talk about domestic violence against women, but also when you bring children in with Adrian Petersen, and also in the case of Jonathan Dwyer, there was a child involved. It gets more disturbing. This is a crisis that's existed in the NFL. People just didn't know about it. People weren't talking about it. Now it's out in the open, and this is a big problem for this league. And yesterday, actually, some of Petersen's teammates disagreed with the Vikings defending Adrian Petersen. Listen to this.
People blowing it out of proportion and, you know, and all this and all that. But at the end of the day, man, we came here to win football games. And I think football right now for Adrian, the best thing for him to do is to play football, you know, let out some frustration and, you know, be himself. All these allegations or this and that, pictures out, this and that, but he haven't been convicted of nothing. You know, in crimes and stuff, you innocent until you convicted guilty. And I don't think he's guilty of nothing yet. And I think he should be able to play football.
That's one of Petersen's teammates. Petersen's mother, as you might expect, standing by her son in an interview with the Houston Chronicle. She lives in Texas. She says, in part, "I don't care what anybody says. Most of us disciplined our kids a little more than we meant sometimes, but we were only trying to prepare them for the real world." She goes on to say, "When you whip those you love, it's not about abuse, it's about love. You want to make them understand what they did wrong." So, Joe and Mika, a little bit of perspective there, at least. You can kind of understand where Adrian Peterson's point of view comes from when you hear his mother saying something like that.
Well, just to point out also an update, Nike has suspended its contract with Petersen, saying it does not condone child abuse or domestic violence of any kind.
Good for Nike. I'm going to go out and buy some Nike running shoes today.
That's money.
No, I'm not going to run, but I will go out and buy Nike running shoes.
You can buy me some.
And I will put them on, right, while I'm sitting watching TV.
Listen, that's action. I mean, that's what we've been looking at from the sponsors.
You know, it is action. And, Mike, it is very important. You listen to some of the people, what they're saying on TV, it seems like they don't make sense. Here's the bottom line. If at our network or at any newspaper in America or I'm sure at this institution, if you are arrested for beating up your wife and your children, right?
So long.
So long. Yeah. You're not going to be able to hang out, hey, you know what, I'm going to work here and we're going to let the justice system play itself out. No, you're going to be sent home. In a lot of cases, you'll be sent home with pay, but you'll be sent home until it's finished. I mean, I know we're talking about billions of dollars being involved, but it's taken the Vikings a long time to get where they got. Thank God they were there, and thank you, Radisson, for stepping up and defending women and children. You can say the same thing about, you know, it took the Panthers a while, but the Panthers finally woke up to it. Maybe, just maybe, the NFL and the owners are starting to wake up. These billionaires who, let's face it, live a very insulated, isolated life.
Well, there are several elements here that are going to be interesting as they play out. The biggest one is, where is Roger Goodell? Is he hiding? He has not faced the press. He has not responded to questions in several days.
By the way, this guy makes $44 million a year. How do you run a billion-dollar enterprise, make $44 million a year, and you do just one interview and do as badly as Roger Goodell did? So they pay him $44 billion to not be able to defend their league or explain why all this is happening? I don't understand.
That's the first element. The second element is the culture of not only the NFL, but largely of professional sports, the sense of entitlement that so many young men, and it's men, who come into these leagues having been given these gifts by God, these athletic gifts, being told they're the greatest since they're the age of 10 years of age, and they feel as if there are no barriers. They have no barriers. That's another thing that's going to have to be looked at. The third thing, and this is going to play out in the draft next year, if you give owners and coaches the choice between talent and character, they will always go for talent at the expense of character. And this is the result.
And I think that might just change, Mika.